Be the Talk, episode 273, featuring James Perry. Welcome to Be the Talk. We go behind the talk 7 days a week for tips and techniques to help you change the world. I'm Nathan Eckel, and a talker myself. I'm interviewing others who change the world with their talk. You can too, even if you've never given a talk before. Let's get started with today's show. We are live with James Perry. James, are you ready to talk?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
James Perry didn't mean to become an actor, comedian, or YouTube star. But when he decided to take some time away from his real engineering job to goof off over in Studio C, he discovered a fulfilling and meaningful purpose that he had been searching for all along. James is the author of the book, I Still Want to Become an Astronaut, Living Your Dream When You Dream Too Much. James Perry, welcome to the talk.
Thank you.
Your talk is called How I Stumbled on a Purpose. It's one of these great autobiographical talks. You talk about working real hard in all of your fields of endeavor, most recently as an actor. But you ask the question, where can I stand out the most? Please, James, take us behind the talk.
All right. So, like you said, I've tried a lot of different things. I have a lot of interests, throughout my life. I've loved math and science and theater and choir and tried sports, gave it a little try there. But anyway, so the talk is about how I've always wanted to be really good at something, just really master something, because I wanted to have a purpose in life and I wanted to do something that was meaningful. And so going out and trying to find that was really stressful because I put a lot of meaning behind it. Like, I need to make sure I'm not wasting any time at all, because any minute I waste is gonna be missing in the world of what I could have been doing. And so
that's pretty intense. That's pretty focused, man.
Yeah. And so I was speaking mostly to people who have a similar feeling of wanting to do good, wanting to have a purpose, but maybe stressing out a little too much about finding that one perfect thing that they can master and just, kill it.
Well, Talk Universe, can anybody else relate to this besides me? I'm really glad we're talking today. I mean, there are so many of us. We have so many interests. And then we have this whole, I don't know if it's the soap opera title or what, but the one life to live thing. And what we miss is being sometimes present in the moment and joyful in the moment. So what's your advice to other people? Like you said, I mean, you dabbled in a whole bunch of things and then you have real serious passions. What's your advice to people that have so many things they're passionate about, but they got to, at least for the moment or for a period of time, really go after one?
Yeah, so I think what I discovered in my story, because I studied engineering, like I said, I wanted something that felt practical, that I could really say, I'm doing something good for the world. So engineering made sense. And I liked math and science well enough. But then I was doing comedy on the side to get a break from all of that. And that comedy just mostly luck, a little bit of really hard work, and was able to actually turn that into a TV show, which became a full-time job, and then started getting letters from people, because we do family-friendly comedy. So getting letters from people saying, hey, in my darkest days, this really brightens my life, or we can finally watch something that's funny as a family and not worry about the vulgarity or whatever, right?
And let's just hit pause right there, because that's really unusual. That I didn't realize that this was clean, family friendly, whatever the right word is, comedy. Yeah. And I mean, it seems to me like that you've got a number of things that you're up against. Maybe, it seems like, it's easier just to be kind of perceived as edgy, and not have these other boundaries to do that yet.
Oh yeah.
You don't do easy things.
Yeah, no.
Can you speak to that?
They just say, what do I think is funny? And they do that funny thing. And obviously if they're good at it, and that works. And our thing was to say, hey, we think a lot of stuff is funny. why don't we just put aside the stuff that happens to be family friendly? So it's not a kid's show, but it ended up really working for kids and adults because we're adults. We just wrote what we thought was funny and we just happened to put out what was family friendly. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. But those became guidelines for you. That became part of your brand so that, mom and dad who are people our age or younger, you can bring the kids in and not have some gross or disgusting, inappropriate, or possibly, sexually violent or other stuff that we all laugh about in a normal situation, which is arguably a little jacked up. So, I mean, how much more difficult is that to you, or is it just part of the brand and it's part of your work ethic and part of the way that you do things? Do you not see it that way?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's more difficult. It's the constraint. I feel like constraint and creativity gives you a guideline, like you're saying. And this just happens to be a constraint that we honed in on because I went to BYU, which is a religious backed school.
Brigham Young University, correct?
Yeah, Brigham Young University. And so the audience at that university prefers to have family friendly stuff. So that's what we made. And it was popular. And so when we kind of pushed it onto TV and eventually onto digital on YouTube, and now we have 2 million subscribers and whatnot.
2 million?
It's 2 million. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Studio C on
subscribers, not views, subscribers.
Oh, no. We got more views than that, which is great. Good stuff. And we've also broken off to make a new thing called JK Studios, which is like more, because that's sketch comedy. Mm-hmm. Anyways, I don't want to give everyone too much background, but anyways, it has become just like what we've decided is our brand, and we're expanding now into more than sketch comedy. We're doing working on a sitcom, on a reality TV show, and just because we found that there's this huge void not being filled of comedy that's just funny for funny's sake, but happens to be family friendly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm imagining that you discuss some of these topics of maybe earlier in this interview a little bit more in depth on your book, which is entitled "I Still Want to Be an Astronaut: Living Your Dream When You Dream Too Much." So can you give me a real high level, because we're about to pivot over, but could you give me like a 20-second high level overview of what you touch on in the book?
Yeah, so in the book, I just go through like what's a better way to look for your purpose in life than to, freak out about that one purpose. And it's basically figure out who you are, how you can be genuine, and listen to others, listen to the environment you're in, and collaborate in order to find many purposes in your life.
Well, I love that, because it's like, I mean, it's great to have the old straight and narrow if you're talking about, do this or don't do this, or we were discussing being family friendly and raising kids and all of that. Yeah. Those boundaries can be really good, but sometimes the constriction when it's up to our direction in life can be a little stifling. And sometimes it's not other people. Sometimes it's just ourselves. And from one engineer to
it's a constant process, and always be open, always be willing to listen and try new things to figure out who you really are.
Well, we're getting some really good advice from James Perry. And if you like what you're hearing, you're going to hear even more great stuff when we pivot over to you, Talk Universe, because we're about to go over to the Blitz Round. Hey, Talk Universe. I hope you've been enjoying today's episode with today's guest. But you know what? Many people want more than that. Many people that listen to Be the Talk actually want to give a talk. And if that's you, you're not alone. Listen to the rest of this podcast. At the end, I'll have a free resource for you just for listening. And it's time for the Blitz Round. We are here with actor James Perry, and I'm about to ask him a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of his recent talk. James, you ready to go?
I think so.
All right, first question. Yeah. Were you invited to speak, or did you apply?
I was referred by a friend who spoke the year before.
Nice. Okay. Well, you get up. You're an actor, so the actors always tend to answer this next question a certain way. Are you a memorizer, an improviser, or a blender?
Oh man, I memorize first so that I can get into the character and improvise.
See, that's the actor's answer.
Yeah.
Every time I've probably had 10 or 15 actors and they say, I memorize and then it comes out of my heart and then it's natural, but you drill down and that's your craft. Is memorizing, internalizing, and then maybe it's the Stanislavski thing. It just kind of comes right out of you. I took an acting class or two, so I can name drop a little. Yeah. See, I got a point there from James, everybody. All right. Next question. Other than the Stanislavski method, which we're over talking about, what is besides that a tip, tool, or technique that helped you?
For me, it was just getting all of my ideas down on paper, figuring out what I could say, and then combining it, categorizing things, and figuring out what's the main message, and then honing in on something from there.
Now, for your next talk, are you going to keep the same process, or are you going to kind of hone that, tweak that at all, or is that kind of your standard preparation, James?
Well, that preparation actually translated. So like you said, I wrote a book, and that was just a massive version of writing a TED Talk. Mm-hmm. And so I had so much research and so many things to say, and then I categorized it. And so I think probably talks coming up, I will be using other topics from my book and trying to figure out what focus I want to do on that for that particular audience. Yeah,
Talk Universe, it's so important because your talk can easily morph into a book. And the other way around, if you have a good book with great ideas, that can be chopped off to do some really good talks as long as you follow the branded talk formula as James does. So, James, were you an opener? Were you a closer, or were you in between?
I think I was in between.
Any advice to Inbetweeners?
Any advice?
Any advice? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, for me, I just thought it was fun. And so I just relaxed, went out there and tried to just connect with the audience, be myself.
James, what was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened during or right before your talk?
I would say, okay, so during my talk, I talked about how I tried to play sports, and I have this funny thing where I get hit in the head a lot in sports when I play. And so I was talking about it, and then someone yelled out Scott Sterling because it was like a reference to a sketch that Studio C had done, and it just threw me off. But I got back on track.
Oh, so you got heckled.
Yes,
with your alter ego from Studio C.
Yeah, exactly.
So this would be the equivalent of Will Ferrell doing a TED Talk about, being validated, and somebody screams more cowbell or something of that nature.
Yeah. Maybe someone else in the cast saying.
Is there a YouTube link for that? We'll put it in the show notes.
For the show? Yeah, so it would be
Scott Sterling. Is there like a direct link to that sketch? I'd like to watch it.
If you Google Scott Sterling, you'll find it.
Okay, there you go, folks. Google Scott Sterling. We'll get to find out what James is talking about here. Final question for you, James. This is the cut for time question. So what was the most painful part of your talk that you had to cut out?
Oh man. I don't know. I actually, it's funny because I actually really appreciated the help of editing it down, because I felt like my idea was so broad that it was hard to follow until someone told me, hey, this needs to be edited out. And so it was a big relief, because I was hoping to be concise and understandable.
Oh, excellent. So we've been talking with James Perry. His talk is called How I Stumbled on a Purpose, and you can find out more information on James by going to jamesperryactor.com. And if you want to find out more about the book, just add the /book to that, jamesperryactor.com. His talk is called How I Stumbled on the Purpose. You can go to our show notes page at BeTheTalk.com. We're going to have a link to his website as well as to the Talk. And we're going to be back in just a moment, Talk Universe, for the final word of advice. Hey, Talk Universe, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you want to give the talk to change the world, but you don't know how or even where to start, no problem at all. Go to BeTheTalk.com/get accepted for my new 5-day email course that'll show you how. Absolutely free. Just go to BeTheTalk.com/get accepted. And we're back with James Perry. It is time for the final word of advice for Talk Universe.
All right. So my advice, I guess what it comes down to is more than trying to do what you think you need to do and whatever that one purpose in life is, try to be genuine. And people don't realize how hard this is and how little they are doing it until you really focus on, am I being myself? And then when you do that, you'll go out and you'll find endless opportunities that will give you purpose.
Well, James Perry, thank you so much for coming on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Be The Talk. For tips and resources to help you change the world, go to BeTheTalk.com. See you tomorrow.